Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about the unit circle. So the first thing that we got to understand is the unit circle is comprised of a coordinate system, so x and y, with angle measurements overlaid on this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill out our coordinates that we all know here. So if I have a point here, my x value, so here's my x value, here's my y value. My x value is going to be 1. That's why it's called the unit circle, because this has a radius of 1. And my y value is going to be 0. Now if I come up here, my x value is going to be 0, and my y coordinate is going to be 1. So this quadrant here, I'm going to have a positive x and a positive y. This is quadrant 1. Alright, now we're going to go into the second quadrant, and if I come over here, now my x is negative 1, and my y is 0. So if you notice, all my x's over here are going to be negative. So my x is going to be negative, however, my y is going to be positive. This is quadrant 2. If I keep going down to here, I have x is equal to 0, and y is equal to negative 1. So all of these values, both x and y, are going to be negative. My x value is going to be negative, and my y value is going to be negative. So I have negative x, negative y. This is quadrant 3. And then quadrant 4, right here, if I'm looking at this, I have a negative y value and a positive x. So positive x and negative y. And this is quadrant 4. So there's the start of my coordinates here. So we're going to use our circle, or our little triangles that we cut out and we solved for. So the first one I have right here, we're going to be looking at our degrees and our coordinates. So if I put this triangle right here in reference to the x-axis, this angle that's created here is 30 degrees. So in 30 degrees, this is my y coordinate here, which is 1/2. And this is my x coordinate, which is square root of 3 over 2. So this guy is going to be square root of 3 over 2. And my y is going to be 1/2. Alright. So now I'm going to take this same guy, and I'm going to flip it. So if I flip it across here, this guy is still 30 degrees. However, I have 180 here minus 30. 180 minus 30 gives me 150 degrees. Now remember, my x coordinate, right here, my x coordinate was negative, or is square root of 3 over 2. Well, now I'm negative. So this guy is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2. And then my y coordinate is still positive. So this guy is 1/2. Now if you notice here, my pattern for this is, if I draw a line, if I take and I draw a line here between these guys, notice the only thing that changed, these guys are exactly the same. The only thing changed is I went from a positive x to a negative x. My y stayed the same, so look at it. Alright. So now we're going to flip this back over, and we're going to look at this 30-degree angle right here. So now again, this is still 30 degrees, this is still 180, so 180 plus 30 gives me 210 degrees. So now I'm sitting here at 210 degrees. But now my x value is still square root of 3 over 2, but now it's negative. Just like my y value of 1/2 is also negative. So I've got the negative square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2 here. So now if you take a look at what happened with these values right here, they are simply opposite of each other. So quadrant 1 they're positive, in quadrant 3 they're negative. And then finally we're going to flip it over and we're going to look at this 30 degrees. So again, this is still 30, but this is 360. So I got to take 360 minus 30 gives me 330. So this guy here is 330 degrees. Now if you notice, my y value is still 1/2. But it's negative. My x value is still square root of 3 over 2, but it's positive. So if I look at the difference, I go from positive, they're the same things here, but my y value becomes negative. So we're going to use yellow. And go from here to here. So quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, when I'm measuring from the x-axis, I'm going to the x-axis, using 30 degrees, my coordinates don't change. But whatever happens in the quadrant changes whether they're plus or minus in reference to the x-axis. So now if we do the same thing for 45 degrees here. So here I am at 45 degrees here. My coordinates now are square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 over 2. If I go over here and I go from reference from the x-axis, my y is positive, my next x is negative. So this is negative square root of 2 over 2, positive square root of 2 over 2. And then you have 180 minus 45, which gives you 135 here. And we're going to flip this over here. Measure from here to here again. So now my coordinates are negative, so I got negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. And I'm going to take 180 plus 45. This is now 225. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to do this guy here. So again, my x is positive, my y is negative, so I got square root of 2 over 2 minus square root of 2 over 2 for my coordinates. And then we got 360 minus 45 gives me 315 degrees. So again, these guys, now I can draw my colors here. These guys are the same coordinates. These guys are the same coordinates. And this guy is the same coordinates. And then last but not least, we're going to use our 60 degrees here. So with my 60 degrees, this guy is 60 degrees. So now I'm over 1/2 and up square root of 3 over 2. So I'm going to go over here and flip it over because I'm referencing the x-axis. So now my x is negative, so negative 1/2, and my y is positive, so square root of 3 over 2. And this guy is 180 minus 60 gives me 120. Then we're coming down here, referencing from my x. So, again, now I'm just flopping this guy. So my x is negative, negative 1/2. My y is negative, negative square root of 3 over 2. And then 180 plus 60 gives me 240. And then last but not least, we're going to do this guy here. Ugh. Trying to get my angle lined up there. There we go. So now I have a positive x, so positive 1/2, and a negative y, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. And then this guy is 360 minus 60 gives me 300. So now we have a couple degrees we need to, oops, I've got to draw my lines in. So these guys are the same. These guys are the same. And this guy is the same. Alright, all of those are the same. So now we still have a couple degrees to fill in. So remember, if I'm starting right here, I'm starting at 0 degrees. When I come up, this is 90 degrees. We know that this guy's 180. And then down here is 270 degrees. And all the way around the circle is 360 degrees. Alright, kiddos. That is the unit circle. This is what you're going to have to memorize. You're going to use this a lot in pre-cal, so you need to be able to go between the quadrants and know what is positive, what is negative. To memorize these guys right here, I'm going to show you a really quick rule. If you place your hand down where this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. If I'm trying to find the coordinates for this guy, I pull this finger down. I've got one finger here. That's the square root of 1 over 2, which is 1/2. I've got 3 fingers here. That's the square root of 3 over 2. It's always divided by 2. So now, if I move this finger here, I've got 2 fingers on this side. It's the square root of 2 over 2. I've got 2 fingers here. It's the square root of 2 over 2. So the third one here, I've got 3 fingers here, so it's the square root of 3 over 2, and I've got 1 finger here, which is the square root of 1 over 2, which is 1/2. So hopefully you can see that pattern. That'll help you build these coordinates for the unit circle. Now using the quadrants, whether x or y is positive or negative, you can build the coordinates in the other ones based upon the patterns that I've shown you here. Alright, have a great day.